Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we are continuing the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 37. We finished the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, 4 verses, and now we are on the 37th verse. In this stage of full satisfaction and detachment from the sensory world, one can know the mystery of the science of God with all its confidential intricacies, and not by grammar or academic speculation. Because Brahma qualified himself for such reception, the Lord was pleased to disclose the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. This direct instruction by the Lord to any devotee who is detached from the world of sense gratification is possible, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Unto the devotees who are constantly engaged in the Lord's transcendental loving service, priti purvakam, the Lord, out of his causeless mercy upon the devotee, gives direct instructions so that the devotee may make accurate progress on the path returning home back to Godhead. One should not, therefore, try to understand these 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam by mental speculation. Rather, the direct perception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is able to know all about his abode. Vaikuntha was seen and experienced by Brahmaji. Such Vaikuntha realization is possible by any devotee of the Lord situated in the transcendental position as a result of devotional service. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10 that anyone who is engaged in devotional service, anyone who is engaged in bhakti, then what does the Lord do? Out of his mercy, he from our heart, inside within our heart, He inspires us how to engage more and more in bhakti and to make accurate progress and eventually go back home, back to Godhead. So we should not try to understand about Krishna or Vaikuntha or the pure devotees. We should not just mentally speculate, but hear from the authorities. That's the perfect ways. Shruti, the way of getting perfect knowledge is by hearing. It's because when a person is sleeping, how do you wake up that person? If you tap that person, if you touch him, he might just roll over and sleep on the other side. But if you call his name, that's the best way that you can wake him up. Now, if somebody's pretending to sleep, no matter how much you call his name, he won't wake up. How much you make a noise, he won't wake up. Why? Because he's pretending to sleep. He's not actually sleeping. So same way, we are sleeping. The soul, we are sleeping inside this body. How to wake us up? By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The sound vibration, it goes, and then we are slowly, gradually, we'll get conscious, get situated in our real position. And then we can go back home. Everything will get clear. So we don't have to make up things, imagine things, mentally speculate, maybe. No, just hear from the right source. In the Gopal Tapani Upanishad Shruti, it is said, Gopa Vesho me Purusha Purustad Avir Ba Bahuva. The Lord appeared before Brahma as a cowboy, that is, as the original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, Govinda, who is later described by Brahmaji in his Brahma Samhita 5.29. So Gopal Tapani Upanishad mentions that Krishna appeared in his original form to Brahmaji. And that's what Brahmaji is describing in his prayers called the Brahma Samhita. After Brahmaji saw Krishna, he recited these beautiful, beautiful prayers. Chintamani prakara sadama shukalpa vriksha laksha vrateshu surabhir abhipalayantam lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevayamanam govindam adi purusham tam aham bhajami. Brahmaji desires to worship the original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, who resides in the topmost Vaikuntha planet, known as Goloka Vrindavan, where he is in the habit of keeping Surabhi cows as a cowboy, and where he is served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, the gopis, with love and respect. So Brahmaji is saying that I worship Govinda. He's the original personality of Godhead, and he is in the form of a cowherd boy. And he has so many cows, and he's surrounded by the gopis, who are all the original goddesses of fortune. And where does he live? In Goloka Vrindavan, which is the highest planet in the spiritual sky. So all is written so clearly. Brahmaji is giving us, where's the address of God? Goloka Vrindavan. And what's his name? Lord Sri Krishna. What does he do? He has many cows, Surabhi cows. He's a cowboy, cowherd boy. And then he's surrounded and served by so many hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. So we don't have to imagine who's God, where does he look like? Oh, maybe he looks like this, maybe he looks like that. Maybe he lives here, maybe he lives there. No, we just hear from the authority. Because why? Because Brahmaji is seeing. He is seeing in front of him, Golok Vrindavan. He's seeing Krishna there. That is the way of receiving any knowledge, through authority. Even material knowledge we are receiving through authority. We don't make up. If we are sick, we go to the doctor and we follow his instruction. We don't imagine and make up our own things. Then how will we get cured if we do that? Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna is the original form of the Supreme Lord. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This is also clear from this instruction. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, and not directly Narayan or the Purusha avatars, which are subsequent manifestations. So even Brahmaji, he's saying that the original form of the Lord is Krishna, Shyam Sundar Krishna. and Narayan and all the Purusha avatars are all expansions coming from this original person, Krishna. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam means consciousness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the sound representation of the Lord as much as the Bhagavad Gita is. Thus, the conclusion is that Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of the Lord, in which the Lord and his abode are perfectly realized. So we have so many different sciences. We have science of chemicals, it's called chemistry. So we read chemistry textbooks. Then we have the science of physics, trying to understand how all this universe works, what is the laws of action, reaction. So we'll read the textbooks of physics. If we want to know the science of God, then the textbook is Srimad Bhagavatam. We need to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam to understand the science of God. This is also a science. It's not sentimental. It is not only philosophical. No. Sure, there is sentiment, there is philosophy, but it is scientific, can be proven. We have direct experience. You engage in Bhakti Yoga, you will see God. You know? It's not maybe, no. Any comments or questions?
Does Brahmaji say in every verse that Govindam Adi Purusham Bhajami?
Yes.
In Brahma Samhita?
Yes.
It is, right?
Yeah. He does. That original seed-giving Father. You are my original seed-giving Father. You are my Tam Aham Bhajami. You are the original seed-giving Father. You are the original person. And he's worshipping, Brahmaji is worshipping Krishna. He's continuously repeatedly saying.
Okay.
So carrying on to text 38. Shri Shuka Vacha Sampradishyavam Ajano Jananam Parme Sthinam Pashyatas Tasya Tadrupam Atmano Nyarunadharihi. Sukadev Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hare, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructing Brahmaji, the leader of the living entities, disappeared. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Lord is Ajanaha, or the Supreme Person, and that he was showing his transcendental form, Atmano Rupam, to Brahmaji while instructing him in the summarization of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses. He is a Janaha, or the Supreme Person, amongst Jananam, or all persons. All living entities are individual persons, and amongst all such persons, Lord Hari is supreme, as confirmed in the Shruti mantra, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So Krishna, he's the Supreme Person. We are all persons. We are also persons, the living entities. We are all persons, but Krishna is the Supreme Person. And he's maintaining all these unlimited number of persons. He's the only one who's maintaining everyone. There is no one else who is maintaining all of us. Only Krishna. That's why he's the cause of all causes. So there is no place for impersonal features in the transcendental world as there are impersonal features in the material world. Whenever there is Chaitana or knowledge, the personal feature comes in. So here is another proof that Krishna is a person, not light, because he's full of knowledge. The Shruti mantra is saying, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. He's the Supreme Person. He has the supreme knowledge. In the spiritual world, everything is full of knowledge. And therefore, everything in the transcendental world, the land, the water, the tree, the mountain, the river, the man, the animal, the bird, everything is of the same quality, namely Chaitana. And therefore, Everything there is individual and personal. Everything in the spiritual world is Satchid Ananda. Krishna is Satchid Ananda. Everything else is Satchid Ananda. Here in the material world, there is matter and spirit. You know, there is earth, water, air, fire, ether. Those are the gross elements. And then there is mind, intelligence, and ego, which are the subtle elements. And then there is the living entity, the soul. But in the spiritual world, everything is Satchidananda. There is no earth, water, air. So the earth over there is also Satchidananda. The air is also Satchidananda. The water is also Satchidananda. That's the quality, the spiritual quality. Srimad Bhagavatam gives us this information as the supreme Vedic literature, and it was personally instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Brahmaji, so that the leader of the living entities might broadcast the message to all in the universe in order to teach the supreme knowledge of Bhakti Yoga. So Krishna is giving it to the original person in this universe, that's Brahmaji. And so he's the leader of everyone, of all living entities. All, not only human beings, but all. Because he's the one who's giving shape to all the living entities. Brahmaji in his turn instructed Narad, his beloved son, the same message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Narad in his turn taught the same to Vyasadeva, who again taught it to Sukadev Goswami. Through Sukadev Goswami's grace and by the mercy of Maharaj Parikshit, we are all given Srimad Bhagavatam perpetually to learn the science of the absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So we can see that the spiritual knowledge, it comes directly from Krishna to Brahmaji. Brahmaji gave it to Narad Muni. Narad Muni instructed to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva to Sukadev Goswami. And then there's the whole parampara, the whole disciplic succession is there. And now it's here presented for us. For our benefit, Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. Because Krishna left the world, but he wanted to leave behind in this age of Kali, which is full of darkness. He was like, how are people going to get light? How are they going to understand what's the truth? It's so dark and they're so ignorant, they won't know what to do. So he left behind the Srimad Bhagavatam for us to hear and take advantage of, understand the truth and go back to Godhead. So it's for our benefit that Krishna arranged in such a way that Maharaj Parikshit gets cursed and then the Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken. So we should not think, oh, it's something for 5,000 years ago, so these teachings are not relevant for us. No, they are very relevant because Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadev Goswami that what is the unalloyed duty of all living entities in all circumstances, and what is the specific duty of one who's about to die very shortly. And then the answer to that, what did Sukadev Goswami tell him? He spoke to him the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the duty of everyone to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, whether one is not yet dying or whether one is going to die shortly. You know, otherwise imagine, Parikshit Maharaj, he has only 7 days to live. So if we have only 7 days to live, if we get the notice, or we have only 7 days to live, what are we going to do? How are we going to utilize this most important time? Because then, you know, we know, okay, now it's going to finish. The time is going to finish. So what are we going to do at that time? That's something to think about. What activities are we going to do? What are we going to think? What are we going to speak? And then what are we doing every day? How much of the thoughts we are having, which if suppose we were to leave our body at that moment, what would be our destination? You know? The words that we are speaking, if we were to leave our body at that time, what would be our destination? Here Prabhupada would always say, Parikshit Maharaj was fortunate. He had the notice that he at least has 7 days and 7 nights. We don't even have that much guarantee. We don't have a guarantee of even a moment, you know? So, anyway. Any thoughts? Anything to share on this?
I was just reading Leela Amrit, and then yesterday part in chapter 24, 25th or 24th, like Sri Prabhupada had a heart attack, a severe one, when he was in New York, and he just asked them to, he thought that maybe it was paralysis or something halfway, and then he just asked his followers to uh, massage his that part. They just kept on massaging and chanting, and he said that please chant and then ask Krishna that our guru has some unfinished work to do. He hasn't finished his work here on earth, so please give him some more days. And they did it, and then he was good and he came back. So that is the magic of, chanting and believing, especially believing, because he believed in his guru, Sri Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. So he believed so much. He said that I know him, I saw him, and I believe in him. So yes, that is magic, like how death he and that was really severe, he says.
Yeah, it was, you see, Lord Chaitanya, before he left, he said that the holy name is going to be spread in all the towns and villages of the world. Everywhere it's going to be heard. And then he said a great general is going to come, and that is Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, through his life, he indicated us. So at that moment, because he knew he had to fulfill this desire of Lord Chaitanya and his instruction of his Guru Maharaj. That's why he was asking for a little more time, but not for himself.
Yeah.
Not for himself that he wants to live a little longer to be here in the material world. No, it's just for our sake, so that he could give us, he could complete his translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, of Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, to leave behind these things for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, he had complete faith in his Guru.
Yes.
And that's how we should try to imbibe these qualities, try to follow the instructions, follow the example of Srila Prabhupada.
And there was this one, such a beautiful incident when he hadn't come to America and he was in Vrindavan. So he was sitting, and when he woke up and when he saw the beauty that everybody's chanting, and then he felt so compassionate and he said that, Krishna, I want to give this place to everybody in the world. Out there are people who don't know about this. And I want to go and tell them about this place. Otherwise, what is the use of human life if they don't come here and they don't know about Vrindavan? So it touched my heart so much that, at that moment, that thinking so much about that, yes, he believed in the Dham so much, the glory of the Dham, that he wanted to give it to, because there are people in the whole world, they don't even have heard about Vrindavan. If Prabhupada wouldn't have spread the glory, how they would have known?
Yeah, so true. It's true. And, I visited Vrindavan after I got in touch with Prabhupada and the devotees and all that. So after I visited Vrindavan, I felt the same thing. I said, oh, wow, Prabhupada, Krishna was just being worshipped in Vrindavan. Krishna was being hidden in Vrindavan. And then Prabhupada has given Krishna to everyone. He's given Vrindavan to everyone.
Yes, it was so beautiful.
Yeah, because if you visit Vrindavan, then the way Krishna is worshipped, the way everything, then it just made me feel that, yes, that Krishna was only in Vrindavan first, but now Prabhupada's mercy, Krishna is being worshipped everywhere, Yeah, so true. Thank you. Thank you for this. So text 39. Antarhitendriyarthaya haraye vihitanjalihi sarva bhutamayo vishvam sasarjedam sapurvatvat. Translation: on the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of devotees, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe full with living entities as it was previously. Recreator. He's recreating the universe because actually the first creation is already done by Krishna. Krishna has already made the universes. He had already put in the living entities there. Now Brahmaji had to just give the shape. All the elements Krishna already put. Brahmaji does not produce the earth, water, air, fire, mind, intelligence, ego. No, all the raw materials were given. And Brahmaji is the engineer then who's gonna give shape to everyone. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is the object for fulfilling the senses of all living entities. Illusioned by the glaring reflection of the external energies, the living entities worship the senses instead of engaging them properly and fulfilling the desires of the Supreme. Actually, Krishna is the object of our love. We have these senses so that we can please him with these senses. But we think that, no, these senses are there for my enjoyment. But the perfection of the senses is the true happiness, the true bliss we can experience by these senses is when we are engaging these senses in the service of the Lord, when we are seeing the deity form, when we are seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, our eyes really feel the bliss. No other material thing can give the eyes that much satisfaction as while seeing Krishna, the beautiful Krishna, his devotees. And so same with the other senses, all the senses. When we are chanting and dancing, that's the chanting and dancing in front of the deity. The senses, that's why when we go to the temple, it's like all our senses at the same time. You're seeing the deity with the eyes. With the nose, we are smelling the incense, the flowers. And then, with our hands, we are clapping, we are raising our hands, we are touching the bodies of the devotees, we are touching the temple, we are dancing. And so it's like a total feast, festival for the senses. And that's why it's like, wow, what an experience, In the Hari Bhakti Sudaya 13.2, there is the following verse. So that's why everybody is encouraged to visit the temple. Not now. I mean, in COVID time, we all have to follow the restrictions. But after COVID finishes, everyone is encouraged to experience Krishna. Of course, Krishna is everywhere. He's in his holy name. Krishna is his holy name. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say in his holy name. Krishna is his holy name. But when we are in the temple with the other devotees, it's like, you can't ignore him then. So, Akshno phalam tvadarsha darshanam hi tano phalam tvadarsha gatra sangaha jivha phalam tvadarsha kirtanam hi sudurlabha bhagavata hi loke. O devotee of the Lord, the purpose of the visual sense is fulfilled simply by seeing you. And to touch your body is the fulfillment of bodily touch. The tongue is meant for glorifying your qualities, because in this world, a pure devotee of the Lord is very difficult to find. Originally, the senses of the living entity were awarded for this purpose, namely to engage them in the transcendental loving service of the Lord or that of his devotees. But the conditioned souls, illusioned by the material energy, became captivated by sense enjoyment. Therefore, the whole process of God consciousness is meant to rectify the conditional activities of the senses and to re-engage them in the direct service of the Lord. Lord Brahma thus engaged his senses in the Lord by recreating the conditioned living entities to act in the recreated universe. So again, here it is repeated that we were given the senses to engage them in the service of the Lord, in the loving service of the Lord. But we are mistaken. We are thinking, no, the senses are mine, they belong to me. I will use them as I like. Who is anybody to tell me? I can see whatever I like. I need to enjoy. That's the only way to enjoy, that I can eat whatever I want to eat. I can go wherever I want to go. I can see whatever I want to see. I can speak whatever I want to speak. But we can see we have done that. We have already done that. We are doing it. But does that actually give us enjoyment? Does that actually, sure, there is some enjoyment, of course. But does that give us the true happiness, the true bliss? That's what we have to see. This material universe is thus created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. It is created to give the conditioned soul a chance to act, to return home, back to Godhead. And servants like Brahmaji, Naradji, Vyasji and their company become busy with the same purpose of the Lord, to reclaim the conditioned souls from the field of sense gratification and return them to the normal stage of engaging the senses in service of the Lord. Instead of doing so, that is, converting the actions of the senses, the impersonalists began to make the conditioned souls senseless, and the Lord also senseless. That is improper treatment for the conditioned souls. The diseased condition of the senses may be treated by curing the defect, but not uprooting the senses altogether. When there is some disease in the eyes may be cured to see properly. Plucking out the eye is no treatment. Or Prabhupada is really, what he's saying is, okay, we have gotten the senses, now we have gotten disease. Okay, so we treat the senses, and the treatment of the senses is bhakti yoga. Use them in Krishna's service. Krishna also has senses. But the impersonalists, what they say, there is no senses. Everything is senseless. God has no senses, and even the living entities have no senses. So Prabhupada is saying, if there's some disease, you cure the disease. You don't just pluck out your eye if your eye has a disease. That's not the solution. In fact, you're creating a bigger problem for yourself. Similarly, the whole material disease is based on the process of sense gratification. And liberation from the diseased condition is re-engagement of the senses to see the beauty of the Lord, hear his glories, and act on his account. Thus, Brahmaji created the universal activities again. So we are given a chance in this creation so that we can purify our senses, because that is what the disease is, that we are thinking, I need to enjoy the senses for myself. And that is the whole reason we are here in the material world. And then the more we engage these senses in Krishna's service, then we can get purified and go back home. So we can stop here for today.
Yeah. And we can only purify in human birth.
It's the best way, because see, as an animal, sure.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, they don't know, what they are
doing. That's what, yeah.
So that's why the human birth is so valuable. And it's a very rare birth. All the species, there's millions and millions of species. Human beings are only 400,000.
Yeah.
So it's very rare. And so we should take advantage of this human birth. So thank you for joining in today. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktam Vrinde, Hari Hari Bol.